Ted Bundy. Escape 1. Ted Bundy was already charged with kidnapping in Utah when Colorado prosecutors decided to try him for murder. He was transferred to Aspen to await trial. There was no maximum security facility available, so he was held at the Pitkin County Jail and allowed to visit the courthouse library to prepare his own legal defense. On June 7, 1977, Bundy was inside the law library on the second floor. The guard watching him stepped out briefly. Bundy walked to the window. He opened it and jumped. 2 stories down onto the pavement, he landed hard, twisted his ankle, but he ran. Aspen sits at 7,900 feet above sea level. Bundy had no supplies, no money, no map. He wandered through the mountains for 6 days in thin clothes. He broke into a cabin and stole food. He stole a car, but he had never driven in snow. Police spotted him swerving on a mountain road at 2 a.m., pulled him over, and arrested him. He had been free for 6 days. He immediately started planning the next escape. Randy Greenawalt and Gary Tyson. Randy Greenawalt was serving a life sentence for the murder of 3 men at the Arizona State Prison in Florence. Gary Tyson, his cellmate, was also serving life for the murder of a prison guard. Tyson had 3 sons on the outside who were loyal to him completely. On July 30th, 1978, the 3 sons, Donnie, Ricky, and Ray, walked into the prison visiting area carrying a box of food. Inside the box were guns. The sons held the guards at gunpoint. Greenawalt and Tyson walked out together. Then they drove into the desert. 3 days later, their car overheated on a remote highway. A family drove past and stopped to help. John and Donelda Lyons, their 15-year-old niece, and their 2-year-old son, Christopher. Greenawalt and Tyson forced them into the desert at gunpoint. They shot all 4 of them. The baby was found still alive under the bodies. Greenawalt went back and shot him again. Over the next 11 days, they killed 2 more people, a young married couple on their honeymoon. Tyson was eventually surrounded by police in the desert. He ran into the darkness and was never seen alive again. Months later, his skeleton was found. He had died of exposure. Greenawalt was recaptured. He was executed by lethal injection in 1997. John Edward Robinson. Robinson is different from most on this list. He escaped before anyone knew what he was. In 1969, he was convicted of theft in Missouri and given probation. He violated it. He was sent to a work release program. One afternoon, he walked away from the facility and simply did not come back. He lived as a free man for years, moving between states, building a normal-looking life, a wife, 4 children, a job in business. Underneath it, he was developing something darker. In the 1990s, he began luring women through early internet chat rooms using the alias Slave Master. He killed at least 8 women over 2 decades, storing several of their bodies in barrels on his rural Kansas property. He was not caught until 1999, 30 years after he first walked away from custody. He is currently on death row in Kansas. If you're still watching, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribed and left a like. Thank you. Ted Bundy. Escape 2. Bundy spent the next several months inside the Garfield County Jail in Glenwood Springs. He was studying his situation carefully. He noticed that the light fixture in his cell had a gap in the ceiling above it. The gap led to a crawl space. He also noticed that his cell was above the jailer's apartment. Over several months, Bundy stopped eating. He lost 35 pounds deliberately. He needed to be thinner. On December 30th, 1977, while the jail was understaffed over the holidays, Bundy stacked books under his blanket to look like a sleeping body. Then he climbed through the hole in the ceiling. He crawled through the dark until he found the jailer's apartment below him. The jailer was out for the evening. Bundy dropped down into the apartment, put on street clothes he found there, and walked out the front door. Nobody noticed he was gone until the next day. By then, he had already crossed into Michigan in a stolen car. Then he took a bus to Chicago, then Atlanta, then Tallahassee, Florida, where he rented a room under a fake name and started living a normal life. Over the next 30 days, he attacked 5 women in a sorority house. 2 of them died. Then he drove to Jacksonville and attacked a 12-year-old girl. She died too. He was finally pulled over on February 15, 1978, driving a stolen Volkswagen in Pensacola. He tried to run. The officer tackled him on the street. Bundy fought back. The officer handcuffed him face down on the asphalt. He had been free for 46 6 days. He was executed in Florida's electric chair on January 24, 1989. Alan Legier. Alan Legier was already serving life in prison for the brutal beating death of a shopkeeper in 1986. On May 3, 1989, he was taken to a hospital in Moncton for a medical appointment. He was handcuffed, but only to the front. While being led through the hospital corridor, Legier broke the grip of the guards escorting him, bolted through a stairwell, and ran out of the building. Within minutes, he had disappeared into the city. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police launched one of the largest manhunts in Canadian history. For 7 months, they could not find him. Legier was not hiding. He was operating openly across rural New Brunswick. During those 7 months, he beat and killed 4 people: 2 elderly sisters in their farmhouse, a local priest, and a woman in her home. He became known as the Monster of the Miramichi. He was finally captured in November 1989 after a routine police roadblock. An officer ran his plates. Legier was in the car. He tried to bolt again, but was tackled. He received 4 additional life sentences. He is currently incarcerated and has never been released. Lyda Southard. Lyda Southard had already been married 4 times by 1920. All 4 husbands died. So did a brother-in-law and a daughter. Arsenic was found in multiple bodies. She was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to 10 years in the Idaho State Penitentiary. For 9 years, she behaved perfectly. She worked in the prison kitchen. She gave guards no reason to watch her closely. Then she met Edward Meyer, a trustee who was allowed to move freely around the facility. Meyer fell in love with her. On May 4, 1921, Meyer hid Lyda inside a prison vehicle. She rode out through the front gate. Outside, she remarried immediately. A man named Harry Whitlock. She changed her name and moved to Montana, then to Oregon, trying to disappear. 15 months later, police tracked her to a ranch in Oregon. She was arrested while feeding livestock. Meyer was also arrested. He received an additional sentence for helping her escape. Back in prison, she was eventually paroled in 1941. She died in 1958. No charges were ever brought for the deaths of her 4 husbands. Bartolomeo Gagliano. Bartolomeo Gagliano murdered his first victim in 1981 in Genoa. A 29-year-old woman he beat to death with a rock. He was later convicted of killing 3 women in total and sentenced to life in prison. Italian prison law at the time allowed long-term prisoners to apply for temporary release to visit family. Gagliano applied. He was approved. In 2013, he was given a 48-hour pass to visit his mother. He did not come back. Police found him and returned him to custody. He was given additional time on his sentence. Then he applied for another pass. He was approved again. He escaped again. This happened 6 times in total. Each time he was caught and returned. Each time he somehow qualified for another temporary release. In early 2015, Gagliano was found dead in his cell. He had taken his own life. He was 64.